Hey guys, welcome to the Mind Beam podcast. It's your friend Jen. If you're watching the YouTube video, welcome. I am so happy to have you here. Now, before we start, I'm going to ask you one simple favor. If you are loving the content and you're finding value in my content, then please subscribe. Most people don't. And also share it with somebody who really needs it, because you might be able to make an impact in someone else's life today. So I'm going to start off with a very personal story because I want you to know that you're not alone. And even though I teach this stuff for over 15 years that I'm about to take you through, I too go through the same situations and have to pull myself out and reset. So, are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so a few months ago, I was in a very bad space. I woke up one day, I had to drop my kids at school, I had a million messages to reply to from distributors because I work with countries all over the world, to my kids' school groups, my au pair had left, so my daughter's homework was declining, which really impacted me as well. I had team members that I was hiring, and at that point I was taking on the extra work and I was telling myself this would get better until I find people, it's just temporary. And I was really overwhelmed. I had 3 additional lessons to shoot for my course that week that people had signed up for, and there was no ways in hell I saw any way that I was going to get it done. So I was really burnt out, and I knew that I was, because I was snappy. I was making terrible decisions with a business buyout, and most of all, I was absolutely miserable. Now, I would have days, and I'm being really honest here, where I would literally cry in my car. The overwhelm and the burnout was very bad, and I didn't know how to put my foot on the brake. Okay, so that particular morning, I was really overwhelmed and I was just late anyway. And I said to myself, you know what, Jen, if you take a break this weekend, or if you take 2 to 3 weeks, which is what I actually needed, that would mean that you're weak, right? That would mean that you're not committed to your goals. That would mean that you're not cut out for this. Most of all, that would mean that I would feel guilty for not working. So I really didn't know how to put my foot on the brake, and I was doing all the things that I teach. The meditation, I was doing cold plunges because that would regulate my emotional state, because I was reactive and snappy, right? I was journaling, I was getting enough sleep. So I was doing all the things that I teach and I promote, but I was still miserable. And look, don't get me wrong, I had everything on paper. The most amazing family, I have beautiful healthy children, I have cute dogs, 4 of them, an amazing career and business. On paper, everything was amazing, but I was miserable and something wasn't right, and I didn't know how to get myself out of it. So this is what I did. I told myself that it would be weak if I took a break. I told myself that, I've been working like this in the past for years, and look where it's gotten me, Jen. You're so successful, you've got this and that, and people always, are telling you that you're so lucky and what you've achieved is fantastic. But the reality is I was miserable. And I looked in the mirror that day and I just thought to myself, Jen, I don't even recognize who this person is. I literally did not recognize myself, and I was not happy. And the reality is that when you hit that point, when you're not actually enjoying building your business, then what is the point? Because your number one goal in life should be happiness, right? And if you're not feeling happy what you're doing, even though you're earning money and you're achieving goals and whatever it is, what's the point? Now, at that point, everything was great in my business, but we started to see problems and the sales started to stifle slightly, and that just made everything worse. Now, when you're in that state, in complete burnout, what you think is bad in one area of your life, let's say I was working too hard at that time, it tends to have a negative bias and impact on the rest of your life. So then everything in your life seems like it's a disaster, right? Now, why didn't this work? Why couldn't I get myself out of this rut where I was burnt out, I was depressed, okay? I ended up going to a psychologist because I knew that I had to intervene somehow because I was so far gone and burnt out that I did not know how to put my foot on the brake, okay? The only way out was for me to either crash, which I already had, or go see someone that can intervene and completely reset. Why? I've done this so many times that I know there is a better way, and I know that when it gets to that point, I need to take a drastic step and a break. Now, why this wasn't working, why the steps weren't working, in other words, the meditation, the cold plunges in the morning, my gym sessions, which I love, so health means a lot to me, why none of this was working was because what I was actively doing in my life and what I teach, I wasn't telling myself the same story internally. Okay, so hear me out because this is really, really important. If you are in this situation, remember that the stories that you tell yourself determine your beliefs, how you behave, and how you react in the world, and as a result, your external world. Believe it or not, your brain does not know the difference between true or false or real world and not real world, okay? So your brain only knows what you tell it, and what you tell it, you are sure as hell gonna believe, and that is gonna drastically impact everything you do on a subconscious level. It's super sneaky because you're not even aware of it until you watch something like this. Okay, so you might have heard the term neuroplasticity. Basically, it is scientifically proven that you can rewire your brain like computer software. Okay, you can literally rewire your brain to think differently, believe different things, and then behave differently, have different reactions to certain situations, and impact your external world. So here's the story that I was telling myself every single day, okay? I would get home and my husband would say, "How was your day, babe?" And I would say, "Oh, babe, I'm so overwhelmed. I have 7 new distributors. This distributor in Europe is down. I'm down by a few million. I need to make this up. I've got faulty product that we have to return. Mine being, I'm struggling. The campaign is not working. There's too much. I have to shoot this and this and this. I've also had to let someone go, which is really draining on the emotional side of things. So that was emotional labor and burnout. And I would say to him, I just don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if I can build 2 different businesses at the same time. I don't know if I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And if I take a break, that means I'm not committed, right? I'm failing, okay? Now, that story that I'm telling myself is innately affecting the behavior that I have in my life and that I actively pursue in the world. And at that point, because I'm such a victim in my world, I don't have power to actually change anything in my world. Okay, so what I mean by that is think of your business or your world, you as a person, like a tree, right? You can get all the hacks in the world, techniques, calendar blocking, tools that you can use to manage your time, become more productive, and they work, don't get me wrong, but they don't work unless you look at yourself from the inside out, okay? So I'm gonna tell you one thing that's gonna change your life forever. You need to understand that if you want to be more productive and get more out of your life and increase your profits and results in your business, that it is an internal job as step number 1. So that brings me to step number 1, okay? If you want to become more productive and if your sales are declining, I can guarantee you it's because you are not actively participating in the world. You are just juggling 500 balls at a time and you are ticking your to-do list and you are in survival mode. You're not participating, okay? So step number 1 is to realize that you cannot control your external environment. It's an inside job. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to catch a butterfly, okay? So you chase that butterfly and it keeps flying away and it's a pain and you get frustrated and then you try even harder and harder and harder and you cannot catch that butterfly. Now somebody comes along and says, you know what, I've got a really good technique for you. Use a net. Then you can catch it, right? They give you a net. What happens? You run after that butterfly, you chase, you try and catch it. You don't catch it, that butterfly goes away. Now in this situation in your life, you are actively trying to control everything and micromanage because now you're burnt out, your business is not showing results. You know you have so much more potential, but you cannot possibly fit anything else into your schedule. You cannot possibly do more or be more, but the more that you do anyway, it's never enough, right? And God forbid if you take a break. That means you're weak or you're not committed or you don't have what it takes. Okay, so think of it like the butterfly in the net. The more that you get into that state, the harder you push, okay? And this is what I did when I hit burnout. I thought, I can't take a break. You must be joking, Jen. What if I take a weekend break or 3 weeks? Everything I've worked so hard for in the past year is going to disappear, right? And I knew there was a different way. Why? Because I've done it. 15 years ago, I decided that this surely cannot be the only thing or way to life and building a business. And I went out to find a solution for that. And I did. So in my mind, Jen, this is what I teach. I found it. I know that there is a better way. Why am I not doing it? Why? Because when you hit that burnout and negative bias happens and everything starts to deteriorate, your profit in your business, your sales, you then plummet even further and you spiral down, then you try and micromanage, right? So then you hit that victim mentality. Now I'm going to try and control the people in my life. I become really controlling over my husband, everything in my business. I start taking over tasks in my business that the team members should be doing. That has a ripple effect because then those people feel disempowered. They're not motivated because someone is breathing over their back, right? Nobody wants that. So everything spirals because we try and micromanage and control everything out of fear. And we keep pushing, right? We keep going the same cycle every single day. Wake up at 4:15 a.m., go to gym in the morning, get the kids to school, pack the stuff, forget half the shit for their school, go to the office, drive those teams, end up doing the tasks myself because now I'm panicking and I want to micromanage and I can't see the sales. Okay, it's a never-ending spiral. So now think of the butterfly in the net. I'm going to get you back there for a moment. Here's what I mean by it's an internal job. Okay. If you tell that person who's trying to catch the butterfly with the net, which is the tool or the hack or the calendar blocking or the productivity tips that you see online, if you tell them to just carry on doing what they're doing, they're never going to catch that butterfly. It's going to fly away. If you actually tell that person to just sit, okay, clear their mind and assess where they're at and be open to that butterfly coming to them, where they can internalize the fact that they need to reassess, take a step back, take a break, and trust that what will happen if they are patient and calm and clear their minds and stop chasing and trying to control everything. I guarantee you that butterfly will probably come and fly to you. Okay, so all I mean by this is when you are in this state, you have to realize that it's an inner job. Okay, you have to work on yourself first. You have to go inward. It's like a tree. If you want bigger fruits tomorrow, you cannot make more rain come or sunshine. You cannot wait for a better day. So if you're saying things like, things will get better when I hire someone, things will get better when we are finished this launch. You know what, babe? I'm going to take a break once I've hit blah, blah, blah. Okay. That is giving away your power to actually make change. The only thing that you can control as an entrepreneur is yourself and the way that you act in this world and your beliefs. So if you take time to take rest and look at your beliefs around time and productivity and question everything you've been brought to believe to this date, and you decide that there is a different way, and you actively do that and start to train your mind and rewrite your story and tell your mind that there is a better way, and you choose that way, I can guarantee you that you will start to feel differently about time and productivity. Your relationship with it will change. You will then start to behave differently, which means you will take breaks. You will understand that you need to rest to be able to clear your mind. And you will realize that your old model of believing that you have to do everything yourself, work 24/7, and if you take a break that it means you're weak, is actually not true. So remember, it's your inner world first. From the day that you were born, and if this is you and you're burnt out at the moment and your business is not seeing results and you don't feel confident, I want you to know that it's not your fault. Since the day that you were born, okay, you, through experiences, people that have authority in your life, like parents, teachers, or friends that you looked up to, have influenced your internal belief system. And unfortunately, society has painted this picture that you have to work like a dog and burn out if you really want to be a successful entrepreneur. But let me tell you a secret, okay? And this is why I'm telling you this story. I had to intervene. I went to a psychologist. And I said to him, at this point, I'm so burnt out, I cannot put my foot on the brake, and I'm scared that if I do, I feel guilty and anxious, and I feel like I'm weak, and I don't know how to be still, okay? I don't know how to be still. And you know what he said to me? He said, Jen, as a neurodivergent, which is ADHD, okay, as that sort of individual, you are highly productive, and what you can do in 30 minutes, most people do in 3 hours. But it doesn't mean that you have to do it all, okay? So just because you can do so much does not mean that you have to. And I want you to really think about this for a moment, okay? Question what you've been taught to believe by society. Is it really true? And I'm going to tell you why it isn't true in a moment and show you that there is actually a better way. So question it. You might have maybe a saying that's like, I choose not to do overwhelm. I choose not to do this 24/7 hustle. Or I choose to do this with grace and ease and happiness. Otherwise, what is the point? Okay? Now, the first or second time you say it, you might not feel anything. So I don't want to set you up to fail. You are not going to feel wonderful the first time you say that, and you are still going to feel burnt out, and you're going to still be panicking about the results in your business, okay? And the productivity and the sales and the impact, because maybe everything's dwindling at this point. And I can almost guarantee it will be if you are burning out, okay? When you start to say things like this to yourself, in my case, it was, because I can do so much doesn't mean that I have to. Something starts to click. You start rewiring your brain to believe something different, which impacts how you behave, which allowed me to start taking breaks, having a rest. In fact, I took like 2 weeks where I stopped at that pace. And when you do this with intent and you're aware of it, it slowly starts to rewire your brain and sink in, and it becomes easier, okay? So you need to choose what that is for you. What it also does is it takes you from giving away your power to waiting for your external environment to change, and it gives you power and control of your own life. You start to feel empowered. You start to feel, you know what, actually, I've got a hold of this. I feel like I'm in control again. I feel empowered. And no, I'm not weak. No, I don't feel guilty. No, it doesn't mean that I'm not committed. What you start to understand is there is another way. So you have two choices, okay? You get to decide today whether you want to continue with step number 1, which is the rat race, or step number 2, where you decide that you want to take a better way. And this decision will determine 2 very different outcomes and worlds that you're going to live in. The first one is utter burnout, okay? Emotional instability. You will make bad decisions, I guarantee you, for your business, okay? your results will decline. You will know that you're not reaching your potential. You will know that you are not even focusing on what's really important to you, like connection, creativity, enthusiasm, or giving to other people through your business. You know that you're not going to be tapping into that. And you're going to feel trapped, and you're going to feel guilty, and your self-worth is going to be awful because you are going to tell yourself a very terrible story. And that panic is going to cause you to stay in survival mode. Okay. The second outcome is one that's different. And I'm telling you this because even though I've just gone through the same situation, on multiple occasions I have pulled myself out of this and I've done the better way. Okay, which I'm going to take you through in a second. Now, in this world, you don't have this internal conflict and negative association with time. In this world, you hit your potential. In this world, there's so much more freedom and happiness. In this world, you are connected with the people that you love. In this world, your profits skyrocket and your sales, okay? In this world, you have clarity. You realize that you don't have to do all of the peripherals. Why? Because they're not actually driving results in your business. So, in this world, my friend, you choose and decide that you are going to rewrite your story. And I'm going to tell you what happened with my story. So what I did was I reassessed where I was at. So I took a step back. I wrote down everything I was working on. And I took a break so that I could just come out of that survival mode and clear that cloudy mind of mine, where you're just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's called cycle mentations, where you actually can't control these repetitive thoughts. So I had to get myself out of that at first. Then what I did is, I wrote down everything that I'm spending my time on. And I want you to track this. I want you to write down how long are you spending on select tasks, okay? And then I really looked at what is the tapestry I'm weaving. In other words, what is it that I'm really wanting to achieve, and what do I value in my life? For me, it's family. For me, it's building businesses. And for me, it's helping other people grow, okay? And connection, obviously, which falls part of family. So I looked at that. I looked at the tasks I was working on. Then I really decided what I was going to spend my time on. And I was really careful about what I spent my time on. In other words, I protected my time like gold, okay? And I said to myself, I am not going to work on anything that does not get me closer to the tapestry that I'm weaving or what I value. So when people often ask me, Jen, how do you do so much? How do you build a global business in more than 53 countries and build Mindbean and have the podcast and have kids and go to gym and have a husband? Do you know how I do all of it? I don't. It's as simple as that. Do I go to every social situation? No. Do I go to every family event? No. When I do go, I'm super connected and present though. Do I answer every message? No. Sometimes I don't reply for days to people. They know it. I've set that expectation now. They don't even think it's rude anymore. Do I answer every email? No. In Cobb as a business, which is the business that I'm buying over and building, I decided that, well, I've got 17 distributors, right? Only 7 or 5 of those make up majority of our business. Am I going to spend my time on the rest that aren't bringing in results? No. Okay. So I went from answering 5 million mails a day, trying to do everyone's job for the people that I was trying to find and hire into the team. I put less on my plate. Why? Because just because I can do so much doesn't mean that I have to, right? So I want you to remember that. And for example, instead of putting 20 tasks in my calendar or schedule for that day, which is going to set me up to fail, I made 3 phone calls. 3 phone calls. The top 3 people that I know are bringing in numbers and that I can personally have an impact and grow their business, which grows my business as a global business. That is all I did. I forgot everything else, okay? When I made this change, and in fact, what I also did was I looked at our product range, right? We had far too many lines, okay? Refined it, increased MOQs and production volume, gives me cheaper prices. I looked at what lines were profitable, what weren't. So this reflection time was really important. And I cut 2 lines out of the whole assortment, okay? Which means that I left money on the table. So this isn't always easy, right? Because there's that fear. Oh, if I cut this out, oh my gosh, this brings in 6,000 units a year. This is a seller. I don't want to lose those sales. But let me tell you one thing. They weren't profitable enough. They drained more energy than anything. And it wasn't necessary to have so many lines. So I reduced the assortment, right, of the portable cookers. Guess what happened? Sales skyrocketed. We changed our business. We were down. We went up to 43% growth this year. And in fact, it's still rising and our profits increased, okay? So doing less, realizing that I didn't have to do everything and anything. Taking that break so I could clear my mind and the guilt, because again, it's an inner job. It's your internal world. If I did not let go of that guilt and that fear of looking weak, especially when I would cry in my car, I wouldn't tell anyone about it. It was embarrassing. I thought that I would seem very weak, right? I don't like to be seen as that. And when I realized that I could change my relationship with time, I've done it before. That, my friend, is when you make sound decisions, your profits skyrocket. You will see your vibrations into the universe change, which brings so many more positive things to you. You become open to receiving. And Mind Being, we had huge sign-ups, more students, more happy people that are growing. And that's what really makes my day. When I have somebody that comes and tells me, Jen, you actually changed my life. I don't think you realize it. That's what I'm here for, okay? Am I hitting my potential now? Yes! Am I happy? Holy smokes, the person I am today is nothing like the person I was months ago. In fact, when I looked at that person in the mirror months ago, that day when I had a complete crash, I didn't even recognize myself, who I was, and I didn't even like who I was in the first place. So, do the time, make the time to sit and look at what tapestry are you weaving, that you want to change your relationship with time. And what I normally do here is I add like a power hour, that's what I call it, every morning. I add a power hour in my calendar where my emails are off, my phone's off, everything's off. I have nothing to do other than sit and look at what do I want to achieve, what lights me up, what is going to bring me passion and happiness, okay? What are the things that I need to focus on? What can I take away instead of stuffing my calendar with everything that actually sets you up to fail? So you must remember, we weren't designed to live at that pace, okay? So put in that power hour, reassess, unstuff your calendar, and only do the things that are going to give you fulfillment, are going to refuel your energy levels, and allow you to really drive what you're supposed to. Now remember, even though you believe at this point, which you probably still believe this, even though you believe that if you take a break in your business, or if you rest, or if you cry and show some sort of vulnerability that you're weak, remember that it's not necessarily true. Humans were not designed to go at the pace that we usually do, that society tells us to do. That you have to work 24/7, that if you're not committed and working till whatever hours of the morning, you're not an entrepreneur. We weren't designed to do that. And a good way that you can rewire your beliefs is to say to yourself, well, why when I do that do I feel pain? Why do I feel miserable? I'll tell you why you feel miserable. Because we weren't designed that way, okay? You need, as an individual, to be highly productive as an entrepreneur. You need passion. You need to do things that inspire you and build that creativity and allow you to express. You need to take breaks. You need to be connected with other people and yourself. And if you're not going to give yourself the time to do that, your body is going to say, hey, Megan, something's not right here. And then you're going to ignore it, right? Because that resistance and fear is going to come in. It's going to knock louder. Hey, Megan, you're not listening, you're not feeling great. I'm here to tell you that something's not right. You're not doing what you're supposed to. I'm going to make you feel pain. So we ignore it till it knocks so loud that when you're ready to crash, that it's like, hey Megan, if you don't listen now, I'm sure as hell going to give you a kick in the ass and make you feel really, really terrible until you're forced to crash, because that is the only other way out. And that is as simple as it is. Okay, so I want to tell you that there is a better way, and I want you to consciously think of your world at the moment and the story that you're telling yourself, okay? Because if you tell yourself something long enough, you're sure as hell going to believe it, okay? But doesn't mean it's true, right? So remember, your brain only knows the stories you tell it. So instead of getting home and saying, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have enough time, say to yourself, I need to sit down and reassess what's in my calendar, because I know that there's a better way. I know today that within you is success. I know that today that your business results can skyrocket. If your business is dwindling and you're burnt out, I'm here to tell you that it's in you already to turn that around. It's in you to be fulfilled and happy. It's in you to be extraordinary. It's already there. You just need to see it. And you need to change your relationship with time. And you need to change your beliefs around what it means to be an entrepreneur and to be productive, okay? And it's not going to happen overnight. You need to start by changing your beliefs, changing your inner world. It's an inside job. And then you need to crunch the numbers. You need to put in time to look at the tapestry that you're weaving, what you're focusing on and what you're not, what's important to you, so that you can stop stuffing your calendar with peripheral things, right, that only decrease your impact and results, that set you up to fail, that increase your burnout and don't bring you any joy. Okay, now before we end off, I've got one more step that I want you to remember, and that is I want you to remember to kiss. Yes? Kiss. Keep it simple, silly. Okay, you're not silly, but I had no other word to put on the end there. So the reason why I say that you need to keep it simple as an entrepreneur is that you have to have the ability to be able to step into the detail when necessary, but also step back and look at your business as a whole and your vision when necessary. And the only way that you can do that is by simplifying what you're working on and what you're trying to achieve. Okay, stay out of the detail for too long and you're going to miss detail that drastically impacts your business. Like your courier costs are too high, or you're spending too much, or your cost per acquisition is too high, so you're actually making a loss on sales. You have to get into the detail. But spend too long in detail and not have the ability to step back, and you're going to lose sight of what your end goal is in the first place. And you're going to go in every direction instead of a straight beeline to hit the targets or the goal or the impact that you want. So you have to keep it simple so that you have the ability to step into the necessary detail and that you're not working on 20 things that you have to step into the detail. So keep it simple and also be able to step back and look at the vision that you have for your business. Okay, before I end off, again, I want to tell you that you have the choice today. I am living proof of this. I've done it so many times. Even though I teach the stuff, it still happens to me and I have to pull myself out of it, okay? So it is 100% possible that you have the choice, and you do, to change your relationship with time, to change your relationship with productivity, and to change, most of all, the results and impact in your business and skyrocket your results. But it's an inner job first. And I want to tell you that today, I see within you greatness. I see within you extraordinary creativeness, this multi-dimensional and passionate person. I see within you success. You need to see it, and you need to believe it. And I'm here to help you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I love every single one of you, and I believe in you, and I wish you all the best. I'm rooting for you every step of the way.